feel, don't over explain yourself. You don't need to justify your actions, you don't need to justify your boundaries. Thank you so much for stopping by. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to set healthy boundaries for yourself. Okay, so this could be in your relationship, it could be in your day-to-day life with your friends, with your family, in your career, with your colleagues, or even with the people you meet on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so how do we set healthy boundaries? Because we know that boundaries are good for your mental and your physical well-being. So yes, it is good because it kind of draws a line to say, okay, this is how far people can come and this is how far you can go. Okay, so it's really important. But before I go on, if this is your first time of coming to my channel and you like videos like this, then please subscribe, turn on your bell icon so you don't miss out on any of my videos going forward. In my last video, I talked about how to be your authentic self, and one of the things we talked about in that video was for you to be able to set boundaries. So to be your authentic self, you need to be able to set boundaries for yourself. Okay, so but today we're going a bit further. We're going to be talking about how to actually set these boundaries if we want to become our authentic self. So it's important for us to set boundaries in different areas of our lives. In our relationship, we want to set boundaries on how we are treated by our partners. In our personal lives, with our friends and in our families, we need to be able to set boundaries. We need to be able to set boundaries on the people we allow into our personal space, okay? Because some people are toxic and we don't need them in our personal space. Therefore, we need to set boundaries. We need to set boundaries on what people can say to us and what people can do to us, what we are able to accept and not accept when it comes to our friends and our families. We also need to be able to set boundaries on what we can do, what we are willing to do, the extent we're able to go for our friends and our families, and the extent we're able to go even to achieve our own goals and objectives. Okay, so we really need to set boundaries. Okay, so but how do we set boundaries? So we know that it's important for us to set boundaries because of our mental and physical health. But how then do we set boundaries? Okay, so the first thing you want to do when it comes to setting boundaries is to first of all review your life, review the boundaries that you already have. Okay, so do you have boundaries at all, or are your boundaries just inexistent? Some people's boundaries are in between, so some people's boundaries are rigid. Okay, what kind of boundaries do you have, or do you not just have boundaries at all? Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do. You want to identify what boundaries you actually have. If you are that person that does not have boundaries, then what you want to do is to actually set boundaries. And once you've set those boundaries, once you've identified the things that you like, the things you don't like, what you are willing to accept, and all of that, then what you want to do is to communicate your boundaries to people. Okay, so you want to communicate your boundaries, let people know that, okay, I won't accept this, or I'm able to accept that. Okay, so you want to communicate it in a nice but very firm manner. Okay, so we're not saying, oh, be nasty or don't talk to me that way. No, that's not what we're talking about. We want you to be able to communicate those boundaries in a very nice but firm way. And another thing you want to do is to make those boundaries about you. Okay, so when you're saying to someone, okay, I don't want you to do this to me, or I don't want you to say this to me, you want to make it about you. Say, for instance, if you don't want to spend, if you have a colleague that's trying to encroach into your personal space, and what you can say to them is, you know what, I would rather like to have time for myself. Okay, so it's important that for you to say that rather than say, okay, I don't want you in my personal space. Okay, so you make it about you. Let people know how you feel. Let people know how you feel about certain situation, their behavior, their actions, or whatever it is that they're doing. But like I said, let it be about you. And also, when you tell people how you feel, don't over explain yourself. You don't need to justify your actions, you don't need to justify your boundaries, you don't need to explain to people, because you know who you are, you know what you want, you know what you would accept and what you won't accept. Therefore, you say to them nicely and calmly but firmly, but you don't need to explain to them. Okay, so these are just a few tips for me just on how to set healthy boundaries for yourself, in your relationship, in your personal life, in your family. Because if we don't set these boundaries, people can encroach into our boundaries, especially our families and our friends, and we tend to forget who we are. We tend to forget the things that are important to us. Okay, so it's really important that we set these boundaries. I hope these tips have been helpful. If they have, give this video a thumbs up, share with your friends and family, and of course subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.